So you're running a race. Okay, you're watching all these other people. They're moving. They're pulling ahead. You're staying still, right? You're sort of the default human setting, which is just to roll with whatever comes up, to try to keep up with everything, to do it eventually, to probably mess up along the way and blame others when things don't turn out perfectly. We are wired to be lazy. And the problem is, we tell ourselves stories about how we're going to change things, right? I'm going to start exercising tomorrow. Well, tomorrow comes around and you go, okay, well, I'm actually really tired today, so let me do it the next day. The next day rolls around. Oh man, I have a lot to do today. I'll exercise tomorrow. You've seen it before. You've done it before. You know how it works. And meanwhile, life keeps going. Like I said, you watch all those other folks. They keep running. They keep moving. Life keeps moving. Your race keeps going. Your race is not on pause. It doesn't care if you show up or not. It doesn't care if you want to participate or not. Your race, your journey, your path, it's always moving forward. It's always happening. And you can choose to ignore it, pretend it's not there. Or you can choose to step up and say, okay, I'm actually going to participate. I'm actually going to do this thing. And that's never easy. It's easier to live small, to play it safe, to drift with the default current of life, which is to do things tomorrow. But also, it's at this point where you get to decide who you are. Are you the person who tries to do everything and ends up doing nothing? Are you the person who says, I'm gone? Nah, write the book and spends 10 years writing chapters 1 and 2 and never finishes the book? Or are you the person who says, you know what? I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to acknowledge where I am. I'm going to acknowledge that I'm behind, that I'm starting late. I don't have time to waste. I don't have any more time to procrastinate. I don't have any more time to keep telling myself I'm gone. Nah, do it tomorrow because I'm actually gone. Nah, do it today. Nah. This doesn't mean you need to press the panic button. This doesn't mean you need to frantically go and do everything at once. What it does mean is you need to find the calm in the middle of that storm. You need to say, you know what? I may be behind. I may be where I am, but I'm going to accept it. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to move forward from here. I'm going to stop blaming others. I'm going to stop making excuses. I'm going to stop living small, and I'm actually going to move forward. Now, that's not easy to do. It takes mental strength. It takes willpower. It takes discipline. It takes saying no to some things so you can say yes to other things. But it's also a tremendous opportunity because here's what happens. When you're behind, you no longer have the luxury of coasting. You no longer have the luxury of being passive. You no longer have the luxury of messing around. You now have the opportunity to go all in. You have the opportunity to make it happen. You have the opportunity to take control of your own destiny. This is an incredible position to be in, and so many people shy away from it. They resist it. They fight against it because it feels uncomfortable to be behind, but it's actually empowering. Okay, you're behind. Let's do something about it. Let's figure it out. Let's move forward together. So here's the situation. You're late to the party and you need to catch up. Starting late isn't ideal, but it's a position millions of people find themselves in every single day. The question is, what do you do from here? How do you move forward? And the answer requires a shift in perspective. Most people treat delay as a burden. They lament lost time, ideal scenarios, or past mistakes. They might say, I wasted so much time, but it's more accurate to say, life made you waste time. You didn't choose to wake up late. The alarm made you. You didn't choose to skip workouts. Your schedule made you. You didn't choose to lose momentum. Your distractions did. The responsibility is shared, but ultimately life gives you what it wants you to have. And if you didn't get the memo, it's time to get the hint. So instead of seeing delay as wasted time, think of it as a test. Think about all the people who didn't get the memo either and never got the hint. Who didn't get pushed off course? Who didn't wake up one day and realize they're behind? You're here right now listening to this. You're here right now trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out what to do next. And that alone puts you ahead of the pack. It means you got the hint. It means you're paying attention. It means you're curious. You're self-aware enough to look for answers. And that's a fantastic place to start. It's not ideal, but it's a great starting point. So if you're behind, congratulations, you're in the majority. It's a very popular club. But being in the majority doesn't mean you have to accept it. It just means you have to adapt to it. And adaptation is a superpower. People who thrive after setbacks don't avoid the problem. They embrace it. They study it. They scrutinize it. They learn everything they can about it. And then they use that knowledge to make a plan. There's no magic solution for everyone. Your approach will be unique to you. And the first step in that process is understanding the gravity of your situation. If you're ignoring red flags, avoiding difficult conversations, or hoping things will work themselves out, it's time to change course. It's easy to say, oh, I can handle this, or it's not that bad. But those are lies you tell yourself to protect your ego. The truth is, if you're not already where you want to be, things are bad enough. It's not a bad thing to think like this. It's a necessary thing. It's harsh, sure, but it's honest. And honesty is brutal, but it's essential. Brutality forces action. Honesty strips away distractions. It removes all the nice thoughts and leaves you with what's real. It may not be fun, but it's infinitely better than the alternative. If you're starting late, it's not about feeling guilty. It's about getting real. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about figuring out what you need to do. And here's the beautiful part. Even if you haven't been keeping up with the Joneses, even if you haven't been moving as fast as you wanted, even if you're feeling the weight of what you haven't done yet, you still have a chance. Your race isn't over. Your journey isn't finished. There's still time to move, time to make moves, time to create. So let's take a moment to appreciate that. Let's celebrate the fact that even though you're behind, you're still in the game. Don't let anyone tell you it's too late. Don't let anyone convince you that the starting gun has sounded for your particular race. It hasn't. You can still move. You can still make progress. You can still climb. You can still dream. And maybe your path won't look like everyone else's. Maybe your race won't end at the same time as theirs. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe you weren't meant to finish at the same time as everyone else. Maybe your journey is yours and yours alone. Maybe you're not meant to run the same race as everyone else. Maybe you're meant to run your own. And if that means you have to run twice as fast, then so be it. That's your path. That's your race. And as long as you're moving forward, as long as you're making progress, as long as you're putting one foot in front of the other, you're winning. Because the one who starts late doesn't get to jog. The one who starts late has to run twice as fast. If you've been putting off what you know you should be doing, you're not alone. But here's the thing. Every day you keep waiting, you're trading time for comfort. You're choosing ease now for what might end up being a very difficult catch-up later. If you're thinking, it's too late for me, I started so far behind, I'll never catch up, take a breath. It's not too late until you actually stop trying. Yes, you're behind. But here's the good news. Once you see this clearly, you stop playing games with your potential. You stop saying that you'll start next week because you understand what that week really costs. You stop treating time casually because you finally see it for what it is, your most valuable resource, and you treat it like something worth protecting. Waiting may feel comfortable in the moment, but it builds pressure in the background. And that pressure doesn't disappear. It stacks. It accumulates until the weight of everything you delayed comes crashing down at once. And now, you're not just starting the work. You're digging out from underneath what you avoided. So if you've been delaying, if you've been saying soon or eventually or that you'll get to it, it's time to stop. Not out of guilt, out of clarity. Because the longer you wait, the harder it gets. And the hard truth is this: the work still has to be done. The only difference is whether you do it now, when the slope is manageable, or later, when it's a climb. And if you're starting late, that climb might already be steep. But the answer isn't to complain about the incline, it's to accept it, adjust your pace, and start moving anyway. Because no matter how far back you feel, the way forward is always the same. One disciplined step at a time. You don't get to skip it. You don't get to sidestep it. Sooner or later, it has to be paid. Those who started early, they're not exempt. They just spread the cost out over time. Their discipline was stretched across years. They built quietly while everyone else was distracted. Maybe they started saving in their 20s. Maybe they built healthy routines early. Maybe they read, studied, and grew without much attention. And now it looks like they've got it easy. But they don't. They just paid the price in advance. If you didn't start early, you're not doomed. You just have a different price to pay. You'll need to move with more intensity, more urgency, more precision. The time they took to build slowly, you now have to compress. You don't get to cruise. You don't get to wander. You have to lock in and move with purpose. And that's not unfair. It's math. You can't do less and expect more. You can't move slower and hope to catch up. If you're behind, you don't get to use the same pace as everyone else. Your pace has to match your position, not your preference. The mindset has to shift from ILL, get there eventually, to I have no time to waste. You can't afford delay anymore. You can't afford half-earth or inconsistent focus. You can't afford to say yes to everything. You've got ground to make up. And that means your decisions need to reflect your urgency. But here's the part people miss. That urgency isn't punishment. It's privilege. It's a chance to accelerate, to close the gap, to see what happens when you give your full focus to something that matters. Some people waste their time wandering, but you've already wandered. Now it's time to move. So what does that look like? It looks like tightening up, removing the fluff, eliminating low-value habits, saying no more often, protecting your time like it actually means something, because it does. Every hour now matters more than it used to. Every day now holds more weight. And if you've been telling yourself, I'll just do a little each day and see what happens, that mindset might need to change. A little each day might work for someone who started a decade ago. But if you're trying to catch up, that strategy won't cut it. You need to do what it takes. That doesn't mean burnout. It doesn't mean no sleep, no rest, no balance, but it does mean intention. It means you stop wasting time on things that don't build. It means you stop chasing comfort and start chasing progress. It means you stop waiting for the right mood and start building the right momentum. Every outcome you want still requires work. That hasn't changed. The only difference now is the timeline. You're working in a tighter window. That window might be narrow, but it's open. You still have a shot. You just can't afford to move like the ones who started on time. This is the reality most people avoid. They want the success, but not the pressure. They want the results, but not the responsibility. But the truth is simple. The one who starts late has to run twice as fast. Not forever, but long enough to close the distance. Long enough to reestablish momentum. Long enough to earn back the time they spent drifting. So stop asking for it to be easier. Stop hoping for more time. Start asking what needs to be done today to move forward faster. Start planning your days with urgency, not wishful thinking. Start treating time like it actually matters, because from now on, it does. You don't need to panic, but you do need to lock in. You need to decide that this season isn't just about making progress, it's about making up ground. Not because you're less capable, but because you've got more to carry, and that's okay. That's where strength is built. Look, you're not behind because you're slow. You're behind because you've been coasting. You're not bad at this. You're just inexperienced. You haven't had enough reps. But here's the thing. The more you push through this phase, the faster you'll leave it behind. You're not stuck paying the price forever. It's a season, not a sentence. You don't have to do this at 100% intensity indefinitely. Once you make up the lost ground, once you reestablish the connection between effort and reward, you can find a new baseline. You can relax the pressure a bit, but that point is still ahead of you. That reward is still out there. And here's the thing. You still have to put in the reps, even if you do see an immediate transformation. Even if the scale doesn't budge this month, keep moving. Even if the numbers don't shift, keep showing up. Even if the results aren't what you expected, keep pushing. The real test isn't the number on the screen or the feedback you get from others. The real test is what you choose to do with the work. The fact that you clicked on this video shows you understand this intellectually. But the true test is what you do with that understanding. Are you going to use it to complain about how far behind you are? Or are you going to use it to figure out what it would take to move faster, to make up the lost ground? That decision, my friend, is entirely up to you. And here's what we know. The path to growth is rarely linear, but it's always upward. Keep walking in that direction. And guess what? You're not alone on this journey. In fact, you're part of a growing community of driven individuals who are taking charge of their lives. We share tips, resources, and motivation to help each other stay accountable and keep pushing forward. So if you're ready to join this community and level up in life, click the link below. Let's grow together. Most of us have been conditioned to think of speed and precision as opposing forces. Speed implies quickness, haste, maybe even recklessness. Precision implies carefulness, deliberation, taking your time. But here's the counterintuitive truth. If you have to move twice as fast, you can't just move twice as hard. You also need to move twice as smart. Your system needs to account for speed without sacrificing accuracy. If you were already fast and efficient, you wouldn't be reading this. You wouldn't be behind. Now listen. This isn't about dwelling in the past. It's about learning to operate in the present and accelerating into the future. I know we often say, it's not about the speed, it's about the consistency. But if you're behind, speed is exactly what you need. Consistency gets you to a steady state. Speed gets you from a slow start to a strong finish. It helps you make up for lost time. And if you have to go twice as fast, it's not a choice. You don't get to decide to not move quickly. Speed isn't optional, but speed alone isn't enough. Let me tell you why. In a study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology, researchers studied the relationship between workload and performance. What they found was that productivity increases with workload up to an optimal level and then drops off as the workload increases beyond the optimal level. Basically, working harder doesn't always lead to better performance. At some point, the quality of your output suffers. You start cutting corners, accepting lower standards, rushing through tasks. And if you're behind, you can't afford that. You can't afford mistakes. You can't afford to sacrifice quality. You need speed, but you also need precision. You need to move twice as fast without sacrificing precision. That requires control. It means keeping your eye on both the pace and the target. That's what I'm going to share with you now. How to double your speed without losing your aim. First, map your ideal baseline. To move twice as fast, you first need to understand what normal speed looks like. You need a baseline. What does a single unit of effort look like? A completed task, a daily habit, a weekly project. Define that single unit so you can double it. So start by clarifying your goals. What exactly do you want to achieve? Be very clear. Then break it down into actionable steps. How will you know when you've made meaningful progress? Then estimate the time each task will take. Be realistic. If you've been struggling to maintain momentum, it's easy to undersell your ability. Don't do that. Estimate generously. Overestimate rather than underestimate. Then add a buffer. Life happens. Things come up. Deadlines shift. Give yourself space to absorb that. Add 20% to your estimates. That's your new baseline. For example, if you've been reading 30 minutes a day, your new baseline might be 40 minutes, assuming an extra 10 minutes to account for unexpected interruptions. If you're working on a weekly content plan, which typically takes you 15 hours, you might estimate 20 hours for your baseline. Map out your current system. Where are you spending time? Where are you feeling stuck? Where are you wasting effort? Analyze how you approach your work, your projects, your goals. Look for inefficiencies, bottlenecks, areas where you lose steam. Once you identify these, brainstorm ways to streamline each process. Are there repetitive tasks you can automate? Are there meetings you can skip? Are there decision-making roadblocks you can anticipate? Once you have potential solutions, test them. Is it really faster to send a text message instead of answering email? Does scheduling your social media posts save actual time? Confirm the impact, then adjust your baseline accordingly. For example, if you find a way to cut an hour out of your commute, update your travel time in your baseline. If you find a way to spend 15 minutes planning your day instead of an hour, update your planning time. Move twice as fast. Now that you have your ideal baseline and you've mapped your current system, it's time to make adjustments. Here's a simple framework. Task optimization. Look for small ways to do things faster. Can you batch similar tasks together? Can you delegate effectively? Can you learn keyboard shortcuts? Project management. Find ways to optimize your workflow. Can you set up systems to automate repetitive tasks? Can you establish clear handoffs to reduce backlogs? Can you reorganize your workspace for better efficiency? Time blocking. Structure your day to ensure deep focus. Block out periods of uninterrupted concentration. Protect these blocks fiercely. Don't let anything disrupt your flow during these times. Habit stacking. Instead of starting a new habit, piggyback on existing habits. Pair your desired habit with an activity you already do daily. Read for 10 minutes after your morning coffee. Meditate for 5 minutes before lunch. Train for 30 minutes after dinner. This way you leverage the momentum of an existing habit to launch a new one. Systematize accountability. Building speed requires a significant shift. You're essentially rewiring your approach to work and life. And that's uncomfortable. You need external support to push you when internal motivation wanes. Think about implementing daily check-ins, partnering with someone on a shared goal, or seeking regular feedback. Also, be ruthless with your time. Stop saying yes to everything. Eliminate distractions. Shut off notifications. Close unnecessary tabs. Protect your attention span. It's your most valuable resource. And finally, embrace imperfection. Done is better than perfect. Aim for excellence, but don't let perfectionism paralyze you. Remember, your goal isn't to become twice as efficient. Your goal is to double your output. Efficiency is a means to that end, not the end itself. You might not be twice as efficient, but you need to be twice as effective. You need to produce twice as much value. And sometimes producing more value means doing things differently, not necessarily faster. To move twice as fast without losing precision, you need to move with intent. Speed isn't just about doing things quickly. It's about doing the right things quickly. Clarity, focus, and control. That's what allows you to move twice as fast. Don't sacrifice precision for speed. And don't sacrifice speed for precision. Double down on both. That's how you move forward twice as fast. And before you go, I've got a challenge for you. A live event happening soon. And honestly, it's unlike anything we've ever done. It's our biggest and boldest project yet. And the best part is, it's free. Yes, you heard that right. Free. Just sign up and show up. It's going to be a game changer. When you're behind, it's easy to get overwhelmed, to believe the distance is too big to close, that you're destined to stay behind. But let me tell you something. You're further ahead than you think. 1. See the opportunity. While others might feel paralyzed by their current position, you have an advantage. You've seen what it's like to coast, to procrastinate, to settle, and that alone gives you insight most people never have. You see how the choices they're making today will play out, not in 5 years or 10, but in 6 months or 12, maybe even 3. You recognize the same patterns you've battled because you've lived them. You know how small daily drifts compound into big regrets. This is your superpower. You've already been through the wasted time, the feeling of falling behind. That's your secret weapon. It's why you won't do what got you here again. Now that you understand the trap, you're unlikely to fall in yourself. That's your edge too. But don't overdo it. Now you have to maintain energy, because strategy means nothing if you're exhausted. You can't run twice as fast if you're running on fumes. That doesn't mean you need endless rest. It means you need smart recovery. It means your fuel matters. How you eat, how you sleep, what you feed your mind, what you allow into your space. Some people try to push through burnout. Others try to avoid the work altogether. But the smart ones, they manage energy like it's currency. They know when to push and when to pull back. They don't waste energy on distractions. They protect it, because energy is your power source. And if you want to move with force, you have to fuel the engine. And here's where most people fall short. They try to match effort with effort, but that's not the only way to close the gap. You can close it with insight, with creativity, with resourcefulness. The right idea, implemented well, can leap you forward faster than months of trial and error. But you only find those ideas when you slow down long enough to think. That's why part of building smarter is building in time to reflect, to evaluate, to regularly ask what's working and what's not. Not once a year weekly, sometimes daily. When you're behind, you can't afford to keep doing something just because it's familiar. You need data. You need awareness. You need the courage to pivot fast when something isn't working. Running twice as fast doesn't mean you never pause. It means you pause with purpose. You rest with structure. You think with clarity. Because every pause is a chance to realign your effort with your goal. And when alignment is tight, speed becomes sustainable. So if you're behind, yes, you need to move with intensity, but you also need to move with strategy. Not just harder, but smarter. Not just more, but better. You can't afford to waste motion. Not anymore. Every move must count. 3. Redeeming lost time. That means you have to redeem time. And we're going to talk about what it means to redeem time. Not just catch up, but actually convert your past delay into future momentum. Because if you use this season wisely, the time you lost doesn't have to stay lost. It can become the very thing that makes you unstoppable. There comes a point where regret doesn't help anymore. Where replaying the time you lost only slows you down more. Where looking back has to stop not because it wasn't real, but because it's no longer useful. That's the moment you stop reliving it and start redeeming it. Redemption doesn't mean pretending the delay didn't happen. It means choosing to squeeze value out of every missed opportunity. It means taking what should have held you back and turning it into fuel. Not by rewriting the past, but by rewriting what the past means to you. You can't go back and start sooner, but you can start smarter. You can start sharper. You can move forward with a kind of focus and clarity most people never experience because they've never felt the cost of waiting. But you have. You know what it feels like to drift. You know what it feels like to fall behind. And because of that, you'll never waste time again. That's the advantage of starting late. You don't have illusions. You're not fooled into thinking time is endless. You know how fast it slips away. And that awareness becomes power. That urgency becomes clarity. You become someone who moves on purpose because you've already seen what happens when you don't. Redeeming the time starts with ownership. No more blaming the past. No more pointing at circumstances. No more wishing things had started sooner. Because the truth is, sooner is gone. All that's left is now. And now is more powerful than you think. Right now, you have the chance to create results that make the past irrelevant. You have the chance to move with such precision, such consistency, such purpose that the time you lost becomes a setup, not a setback. It becomes the reason you're so committed, so focused, so locked in. That mindset of reclaiming time, of converting regret into action, that's what creates breakthroughs. That's what changes the trajectory of careers, health, relationships, self-respect, not dwelling, not waiting, not hoping, but moving intentionally, daily, relentlessly. And it doesn't have to take long. When someone starts late but moves with discipline, they often outpace the ones who started on time but coasted. The early start helps, but it's not everything. Execution beats advantage, and there's no substitute for someone who's done drifting. So what does redemption look like in practice? It looks like no longer wasting mornings, no longer negotiating with your goals, no longer living on autopilot. It looks like building days you're proud of, days that compound into progress, days that make the version of you from 6 months ago look forward and say, that's who I was trying to become. It looks like forgiving yourself for the delay, but not excusing it, learning from it, leveraging it, taking every bit of pain and disappointment and turning it into resolve. Resolve to move better, live cleaner, decide faster, and stay consistent longer. Because time didn't beat you, you gave it away. But now you've taken it back. And that decision, that one shift, changes everything. If you're feeling behind, remember you're not as far gone as you think. Your journey might have taken a different path, but you have a unique advantage. You know what it's like to be behind, to feel the frustration of lost time, to witness the consequences of delayed action. And that experience itself is a driving force. It's a motivation that can fuel your comeback, making it sharper, more strategic, and ultimately more successful. You're not defined by where you started, but by the adjustments you make along the way. Use the past to inform your present actions. Convert the regret into relentless movement. Understand that it's not about starting over, but about moving forward with intention, strategy, and an unwavering commitment to change. Don't let the setbacks define you. Instead, let them refine you. Make them the catalyst for the comeback story that's waiting to be written. So go out there and write your story. Be relentless in your pursuit of success. Let your journey be marked by strategic moves, unwavering determination, and an unquenchable thirst for growth. Remember, it's not where you start, it's where you finish that truly matters. Your time will come, so prepare for it, embrace it, and when it arrives, be ready to seize the moment and make it yours. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. If you've been watching these videos, you've probably heard me say that every second counts. And guess what? That's true. But there's a story to this. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And today, we're at the beginning. So let's close this out. Let's tie together everything you've seen, everything you've learned, and everything you're ready to do next. You might be starting late, but the race isn't over, not even close. And the finish line hasn't moved. It's still there, still waiting. The only thing that's changed is the distance between where you are and where you want to be. And that distance, it's not fixed. It's flexible. You can close the gap, not by wishing, not by explaining, but by moving with clarity, with urgency, with discipline. Not someday, today. So the first thing that you need to do, the very first thing, is stop giving in to the idea that because you're starting later than you wanted to, you have to make excuses for it. You don't get to be casual about it. You don't get to coast. You don't get to take your foot off the gas. You don't have time to waste. That's the benefit of starting early. But if you're not, if you're starting late, then that's your handicap, right? It's your burden, but also it's your superpower. Because once you realize how much time matters, you start using it like it matters. Every hour, every decision, every routine. And now when I talk about the importance of a morning routine or an evening routine or a weekly routine or a monthly routine, you understand what's at stake. If you decide that sleeping in for one more hour is more important than working on your business, you know what happens? The gap widens, right? It gets bigger. The person who's already ahead stays ahead. The person who was already on their way to the finish line crosses the finish line. And you're not moving. You're staying in bed. You're watching videos. You're scrolling through social media feeds, checking out what everyone else is doing. Look, all I can tell you is this. The path that you're on will get you to the finish line. It's just going to take a little bit longer. But if you can go from point A to point B, you can go from point B to point C. The destination may be the same, but the journey is different. And that's why when I talk about the importance of making a 1% improvement every day, I mean it. Because you have to. Every single thing that you do has to be filtered through the lens of how does this move the needle? How does this inch me closer to my goal? And if it doesn't, then you cut it out, you eliminate it, and you replace it with something that does. So the question is, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to put in the extra work? Well, this is why. Everyone who's in front of you got there at some point. They all had a starting line too. They all had a point where they were either forced into action or chose to step forward. Either way, it was a choice. They knew they wanted to win. And the funny thing is, they probably didn't have any innate advantage. They weren't necessarily blessed with talent. They weren't given a helping hand. They didn't come from privilege. What they had was a reason to push themselves, to go the extra mile, to put in the extra work. And guess what? So do you. You have to find that reason within yourself, something that makes it non-negotiable, something that makes it worth the sacrifice. And then you have to remind yourself of that reason every single day, multiple times a day, so that when you re-tempted to stay in bed for one more hour or watch porn instead of working on your side hustle, you don't. Because you remember why you're doing this. You remember what you want to achieve, not just for yourself, but for everyone who's counting on you. And trust me, there are people in your life who are rooting for you. They want you to succeed. They just don't know how to help you do it. But you can't let them down. Not because you're letting them down, but because you owe it to yourself. That's the second thing. Stop thinking about this as an obligation to everyone else and start thinking of this as a gift you re-giving yourself. It's not about proving yourself to anyone else. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about building something that reflects your values, your skills, your talents. It's about creating a life that you're proud of. And yeah, it's gonna be hard. Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of work. Yeah, it's gonna require sacrifice, but you're capable of it. You have to believe it. And then the third thing, and maybe the most important thing, is don't just try to catch up with the people who are ahead of you. Try to catch up to the version of you that should have been here by now. Here's the reality. You may never catch up to the person who started first. You may never get to the level of success that they achieved. You may never earn as much money as they earned. But here's the beautiful thing. It doesn't matter. Because if you're truly running your own race, if you're focused on your own goals, then the only person you're competing against is the person you used to be. It's the person who used to watch videos like this, used to consume content, used to know what he should be doing, but wasn't doing it. And the gap between that person and the person you are now is infinitely smaller. In fact, it's non-existent because that person doesn't exist anymore. You killed him off. You buried him. You left him behind. And now you're moving forward. You're probably wondering how long it'll take to get there, how long it'll take to catch up. Listen, you're not catching up. You're passing people. You're flying past them. They're in the rearview mirror. And then when you look in the rearview mirror, you don't even see them. It's like you're in another league altogether. And that's where you want to be. You don't want to be in the same league as the people who are ahead of you. You want to be in your own league. The truth is, everyone starts at different times. Everyone has different advantages and disadvantages. Everyone has different resources. It's not a fair race, but you can't control that. All you can control is your own effort, your own consistency, your own discipline. And that's what you have to focus on. Don't worry about the other guy. He's in his own race. You're in yours. Just run your own race and run it as fast as you can. There's a quote that goes, if you're born late, you gotta start fast, and that's true. If you're starting late, if you're behind, then you don't have time to waste. You have to hit the ground running. But that doesn't mean you have to run faster than everyone else. It means you have to run faster than you did yesterday. It means you have to run faster than you think you can. Because when you're running your own race, the only person you're trying to beat is yourself. Listen, if you're starting late, if you're behind, you don't have to be better than anyone else. You just have to be better than you were before. Do that. Then you'll cross the finish line, and no one will remember that you started late. They'll just see the person who showed up, who ran with discipline, who made it to the end. And that's all that matters. So no more looking back. No more apologies. No more stories about why you're behind. From this point forward, let your habits speak for you. Let your progress speak for you. Let your future speak for you. You may be starting late, but if you run with discipline, you can still finish strong.